The game of Civilization is seemingly forever relevant. Throughout its numerous installments, the venerable series has expanded in ways that often challenge its fundamentals, revealing just how boundless its core mechanics really are. It's easy to spot Civilization V's more obvious contributions off the bat, hexes in place of squares and a glossier presentation overall. Are there any truly profound changes in this installment, or is Civ 5 a mere cosmetic makeover?
Welcome back, my son. I've missed you.
As always, the object of Civilization 5 is to take over the world. You can do this by force, via diplomacy, by asserting your cultural supremacy and realizing a utopia, or by building a starship and blasting off to the stars. Depending on how you choose to go about the project of world domination, you'll build your empire turn by turn, settling new cities, constructing wonders of the world, discovering new technologies, and amassing armies. Regardless of your approach, though, you'll have to mind all of the relevant numbers to a degree, and even with all of its refinements, achieving fluency in the systems that underlie Civilization 5 is still a process. The efforts to make the experience more user-friendly might lead you to believe that Civilization 5 dumbs down the series, but make no mistake, the apparatus powering the game is as mystifyingly complex as ever. Some elements, like happiness ratings, are streamlined, while others, like religion, have been excised completely, with other features taking on their roles. Mostly thanks to the refurbished user interface that freely dispenses feedback, Civ 5 is a bit more transparent overall, freeing up your brain space to deal with the stuff that's legitimately more interesting strategically, like combat. You'll seldom play a game of Civ in which you aren't required to give your fellow cultures a bit of the stick, or, at the very least, be able to defend yourself.
أنا رمسيس الإله إنني تجسيد حي لمصر.
The diplomacy system is in place for when you want to interact with your neighbors peaceably. Depending on your level of advancement, you can engage in various sorts of alliances, conduct trade, or even coerce them into doing your bidding. Other civilizations are mindful of the way you move about the world, so if you're greedily buying up tiles near them or parking military units at their borders, you may expect harsh words.
You have mistaken our love for peace for weakness. You shall regret this.
Civ 5 city-states are new to the series, and every game will feature a host of them. Think of them as single-city civilizations that aren't trying to win the game. They're there mainly as grist for the machinations of empires. If you buy their friendship, they'll pay you forms of tribute appropriate to their characteristics, go to war with your enemies, and demand protection when attacked. Likewise, if a rival civ has you in its sights, all its allied city-states will pile on. City-states are numerous, 2 for every regular civ in a game, and they're quite vocal. For the task of filling the game's quieter moments with a buzz of activity, they're brilliant. The new social policy system provides a form of linear advancement that every civilization will benefit from, though those that pursue cultural victories will feel their effects most profoundly. They essentially work like RPG-style talent trees. As you accumulate culture, you unlock individual points on their branches, which grant various bonuses. If you find yourself missing the government and civics elements from earlier games, you'll find some solace here, as they hit similar thematic notes. Once you fully unlock 5 branches, you can go off and start the Utopia project to earn a cultural victory. Civ 5 supports multiplayer games via online or LAN, with simultaneous turns for up to 8 players, though up to 16 are possible if performance and stability aren't a concern. Support for pit boss games is promised after launch.
There was suffering as well. Great and terrible.
When you're not actively waging war, the turn-to-turn action in Civilization 5 can be pretty deliberate. It's all about planning, usually far in advance, what your empire needs to achieve the sort of victory that you're going for. But even if you're aiming for the high road, you'll invariably hit some situations where the best message is one delivered at the edge of a sword. This is especially true on higher difficulty settings, or if you've had the misfortune of starting the game near an especially aggressive leader.
By the grace of God, your days are numbered.
Civ 5's maps are composed of hexes instead of squares, and this has profound effects on combat. Generally, you can only fit one unit of each type on a tile, so all of a sudden, positioning counts. When you factor in all of the other properties that affect combat, like units' inherent strengths and weaknesses, the bonuses they've acquired through promotions, as well as the characteristics of the terrain they're on and whether or not they're flanking, it becomes evident how complex an operation fighting has become. Ultimately, though, it's far and away more gratifying than what you're used to in Civ, namely amassing as large a force as possible, stacking it on a single tile, and letting loose. Civilization 5 looks wonderful, with its bright, inviting interface and its teeming, expressive world. The switch to hex tiles has given the geography a finer, more naturalistic look, and the fully animated diplomacy sequences lend a level of character to the wheeling and dealing of empires that really sell you on the player's intentions.
Tam fortis, tamen tam stupidus.
There's also a highly informative strategic view that dispenses with the bells and whistles and renders the game as a flat 2D board, clearly illustrating what resources and improvements live on each tile. It looks really cool while also being incredibly useful. Civ 5 is a stunner of a turn-based strategy game. You're going to find it easier than ever to completely lose yourself in this detailed, bountiful world. As we've recently been reminded of, there's no such thing as moderation when it comes to Civ. Civilization 5 is a brilliant expression of the turn-based strategy game by the undisputed masters of the form. It's a great entry point for newcomers, and veterans will delight in all of the wrinkles and refinements. The exchange rate between real-life hours and in-game turns is not in your favor, but be prepared to surrender regardless.